Hi, everyone, and welcome to Raise the Vibe with Liz. I'm your host, Liz Peterson, and today I'm going to be interviewing Mary Jeannine Little. Mary Jeannine Little is the author of The One You've Always Been, and I took the time today, popped this into my reader, and listened to it all day, and I love it. I can't wait to have a conversation with Jeannine and really like suss out all the fine details of this book about oneness. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with Mary Jeannine, Jeannine Little is a certified clinical, transpersonal, and interpersonal hypnotherapist, spiritual coach, author, and songwriter devoted to helping others remember the truth of who they are. She is the author of The One You've Always Been, The First Step to Living Your Infinite Truth, a guide for those who know oneness is real, but still feel stuck in fully living it. Her work gently bridges the gap between spiritual insight and daily embodiment, offering practical tools for releasing old beliefs, dissolving inner conflict, and returning to peace. And really, who can't use this information? Jeannine, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Liz. I am very happy to be here.
I'm so happy that we got connected and you talk about hermetic principles in your book, and one of those is magnetism. And I love the way that we were magnetized to each other. And like I was telling you before the show, I think Source wants this message out, and he uses each it, oneness, not to attach a gender to it, to bring through the message in each of our individual ways. And I'm looking forward to pulling your individual way to oneness to our audience today. And I have to give a shout out to Mark Mezzadorian for connecting us. So thank you, Mark, if you're
All right.
listening. Super appreciate it. And I hope
Thank you, Mark.
you're on too. So I always ask my guests, what was it that led you to doing what you're doing today and writing this book?
This book actually started out as a course that I taught several years back called Creating Your Best Life Yet. And I studied to become a hypnotherapist back in 2017 in Florida. So I think just what happened was I realized what changed my life. I've been on my spiritual journey for a long time. I probably about 2010, I really got started. About 2015, 16, I dove pretty deep and things started getting real interesting. And right after that time is when I started studying to become a hypnotherapist. And I just realized that what I loved about, see, my own personal life, I dealt with depression and a lot of things. And it's all wonderful and perfect because it got me here to where I am. So I'm not complaining about it, but it helped me to stumble upon hypnotherapy. And that's what changed my life. I mean, I went through a really bad time. I attempted suicide, and I can look back and say it was a bad thing, but it ended up being such a gift because it's helped me to help so many people. And I wasn't really helped until I stumbled on hypnosis or hypnotherapy. Let me clarify that. So it gets to the root cause, and really, our mind, we're running like 90 to 95% of the time on this autopilot of our subconscious programming. And I was like, oh, wow, there's stuff in there I didn't even choose to believe, but I believe so strongly in. I mean, even my own name, which is kind of funny. We were talking about how I use Mary and Jeannine. It's just, I didn't even pick it if you think about it, but we're so attached to it. We're so identified with that as being me. Um, so, what I realized in hypnosis is we could get to the root cause, some belief we didn't choose. There's nobody to blame. I mean, these things got into our programming just because that's how life was. People that put them in there or helped us believe those things were doing the best that they could. So I realized what's so beautiful about hypnotherapy is anybody can start to work on their own beliefs. So I wrote this course, I Create Your Best Life Yet, to help people understand how their mind works, teach them how to, and I do this in the book, I give the script, I help you to learn how to make hypnotic programming to help change some false beliefs, because you have beliefs in there and you can't just like pick them out. It's almost like what was that Indiana Jones movie? Remember where he had to take that thing, but he had to replace it with something else? And it
Yes.
was on the pedestal like a jewel or something. So that's what I see in my mind. I have this like old belief I don't want anymore. I just got to replace it with something. But it takes repetition and it is a little bit of work. It's not hard. It just takes follow through. So I created the course to help people help themselves, because I don't want to just be the person that you got to come to me, and it's not about me. I want to empower others. And through doing all this is really when I had my awakening, and I realized that through this course, towards the end, it sort of opens up to a bit more of a spiritual course. So maybe people don't realize they got into that until the end, and it all makes sense. But that's where the book came from, and it changed my life, both hypnosis and my awakening. And so I put them together, and instead of doing a course, I was like, I'm just going to write a book. So I just did it.
I love that. Thank you for your share, and thank you for being vulnerable with your share too. The awakening. So before we get into the hypnosis part, because I do want to cover that, you talk about it in your book. Um, Awakening. What was your awakening process? What did that look like for you? Because everybody's different.
Yes, everybody is different. And, I like to feel, in my perception of things, awakening is like crossing this river to awakening, from being asleep, not knowing who we are. To me, awakening is a sacred remembering. It's remembering who we are. And who we are is the observer and the all that is. We say my body, my mind, my thoughts, my car, all those things belong to me, my emotions, but they are not me. So anything I could put my in front of, it's definitely not me. So I like to feel like everyone's crossing that path on different stepping stones, going over that river. So everyone's at different places, and nobody's place is better or worse than anyone else's. It's just unique. And my stepping stone was different people who guided me or books I read, and everybody's is different. So my hope was that the book could be somebody's, one of their stones. But I don't think that's what you asked me. What were you asking?
What was your awakening like?
Okay. So I started with some really amazing books that I started reading. One of the first ones really was The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. I don't know if you're aware of her. I
Mm-mm.
had a really cool synchronicity. Years ago, I had a home staging business, and I got gifted some accessories. And one was this giant canvas painting of a woman. And it was so big, I couldn't fit it in my car, so I had to pay someone to bring it. And it got stuck in my house, long story short, for several years. And there was this woman in my house, and I just see her all the time. And then when I got into my spiritual journey, I was watching a video on YouTube, and it was something about Florence, and it was her. And I was like, look at how you came to me, Florence. For 2 years, you waited patiently for me to find you. And at the perfect time, I did. So I started with books like that. Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements, all of Neville's stuff, Zero Limits. I don't know if you know about Ho'oponopono, and that's very amazing too. I love Ho'oponopono. It's a Hawaiian prayer.
Yes.
Basically means that it's all my responsibility, because as the oneness. So when I forget who I am, I just say, I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you, I love you. But it's to the divine, which is me, no separation. So all of that, I'd say my first big awakening was in the bathroom, just a really tiny little room. And I think I talk about this in the book. And all of a sudden it just became so filled with light, and I couldn't even tell where the light was coming from, me or the walls. There was no windows in there. And I just had this overwhelming feeling of total bliss. And all of life made sense to me. I was like, oh, that's it. It's all about unconditional love. And it doesn't mean like thinking everything's great. It's acceptance on all levels, because everything is perfectly as it is for the reason that it's supposed to be. And so that didn't last forever, but it stuck with me forever. Obviously, I fell back to sleep a little bit. There was that, everyone has that. You wake up, you go back to sleep, you wake up. And um, so I have had quite a few amazing awakening moments. And as much as I'd love to stay in that state forever, I don't think that's the point of this existence, to stay forever in that space. But to understand what it is and where it's guiding me and how I can share that in my life. So that's how I got started, really, just reading.
Nice. And that experience, I can see as you described it now and in the book, definitely would want to remain in that space. But unfortunately, the fade.
Mm-hmm. And I prayed for that. I was like, please, because I didn't fully understand the oneness concept at that time. And I think that there was a part of me that understood it on in an intellectual way, but it wasn't until I knew it in an experiential way that changed my life completely.
I'm
So
glad that
there
you
was that.
too, because there's the oneness concept and then the experiencing of the oneness. So describe like what difference was for you, that concept of oneness, and what life was like then, and then after you experienced it, because the experiencing is way different than the concept. It was like the day that I realized, Deepak Chopra talks about there's no such thing as time, right? Time is an illusion, da 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 da, which I thought that I cognitively grasped until I experienced, time is an illusion. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what Deepak's been talking about this whole time. But and then even saying that, it's like that's my experience and not necessarily his experience, right? So what was your experience beforehand and then after going from concept to experience?
Well, I think that there was a peace about it, a bit of a confidence after I understood it. Because before, it was something I was trying to get to, something I was trying to have, right? I thought it was this thing. Again, my experience, my awakening. It was a thing that I owned, but it wasn't me. So it wasn't until I really understood it, and that was another amazing experience. I went to see Byron Katie. I don't know if you have ever heard of her. Loving What Is.
Her in Seattle, yeah, it was great several years ago.
She is amazing, and I adore her. And so I went to a weekend retreat for her. I was going through a really tough time in my life. I had to make a big decision. And so I went, and then she had a stand facing the total stranger. And this was at the end of the day, thank goodness, because I got a little bit out of control. But we had to face this person, and she played Joe Cocker's You Are So Beautiful. And then every few seconds, she would say, take a step closer, take a step closer. And so we're really close at one point, and there was this beautiful woman. I didn't know her. And all of a sudden, her face started changing rapid, like those commercials where they change. And she was every gender, every ethnicity, every age. She was just flashing all these people. And I was crying hysterically and laughing hysterically at the same time. I must have looked nutsoid in this. Everyone was quiet and I was laughing and crying. And so when it ended, I didn't know what to make of it. And I just got the heck out of there really quick. But when I went back to my hotel room, I looked in the mirror and I was like, what is all this? And in my own face, it happened. And that's when I experienced the knowing all of that is me. And it changed something in me that I can't put into words. I was easily able to make a decision which really changed my life, but I just did it with peace. And I still had a lot of growing to do after that, but I felt it, knew it. And then looking back on that bathroom experience, I understood. Um, there's nothing that is not me, and it's not the me with the name Mary Jeannine or whatever you want to call me. It's not the me with the body. It's the me that can't be named. That's what you are, and even the silence between the words, it's all what I am. And then knowing that changed everything.
That's incredible.
It was
An
pretty
incredible experience. I had a channel after listening to your book today, and I'm trying to think of it. It's right over there on my altar by the candle, as I always do before I do an interview. I'm calling in spirit that we channel the highest and best for everyone. And the what I heard was for you and me, it's like you are me and I am you. We are all, and all is thine, I believe is what do I, or it is us and we are thine. And those are the words that
yes.
came to me. Yeah. And it really speaks to exactly
I
what
love
you just said. And I love that. What you saw in the other woman, her faces changing, gender changing, ethnicity changing, and then seeing that in yourself while you were telling the story is getting goosebumps up my spine. What a beautiful experience. Wow, that's incredible. I'm going to pivot a little
it
bit.
really was.
Go ahead, please.
No, go for it.
Okay.
I honestly don't even remember what I was going to
I want to
say.
combine the two. So you're having these experiences, you're reading the books, and then you do the self or the hypnosis therapy. So tell me about
Yes.
that combination of the two for you and what that transition looked like.
Well, for me, I was able to really take control and understand that because I have these beliefs which are causing me to think these things like, oh, you can't do that, or you'll never have that, or whatever they may be. Usually every single issue that someone comes to me with boils down to some form of not being good enough. And in knowing through this experience who I really am changed everything, because then I just saw it like a garment I was wearing. You know, the belief that I wasn't good enough was just a shirt that was outdated, that I didn't need anymore. And I could take it off. But again, like having to change the thing, replace it with something. I guess I could go around naked, but for this little story, I have to put something else on, right? So I think hypnosis and understand how my mind works, it helped me to kind of have this relief like, oh, it's not me, it's just some program in there. My brain is like a computer. I can change it, I can rewrite the program, and it gave me the tools. And I thought everybody needs to know this. And that's why I just want to help people to help themselves and share it with others. That's what I like about hypnotherapy versus traditional therapy. There's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I hit a wall and I had so many sessions and I had to go away for help. I mean, it was a lot. But once I was able to get to the root cause through hypnotherapy and change it, heal it, there's more than doing regressions, going back to my child self and stepping in as her her parent and her guardian and saying, this is what we're doing now, and those things are not true, and explaining to her why changed my life. Yes, I know it in my conscious mind. I know that I'm good enough, right? I know that I deserve X, Y, or Z, love, money, whatever you may have it. But the subconscious me, that little girl me, she's not digging it. So I had to go in and help her. So I love the fact that it's able to help people take control of themselves, and write a new program. And I explain to my clients that I don't have the answers for you. You have all the answers in you. And depending on the person, whether I can tell them the truth of who they are, all the answers are in there. I help them to tap into that super conscious mind, which is the divine, the infinite.
Mhm.
And all the answers are there. So I say, I'm just helping you remember and move through.
Yeah, I like the remembering that we step into when it's our time to start doing that. And that you have a way to help people get there and you empower people to be able to do that for themselves too, through, at the end of each chapter, you go through, a process of or a suggestion of self-hypnosis. Talk a little bit about that and what that looks like.
Well, by understanding that you have the power to change it and having a little bit of guidance on how your mind works, because there's certain little words I put in there to help as far as getting it into your mind, because and it all explains in there. There's your subconscious mind, your conscious mind, and there's this thing in the middle called the critical factor, which if you don't word things sometimes properly, it'll go, sorry, not letting you in. So for example, like if someone was working on abundance and they were just saying to themselves that they're rich, their critical factor might go, hey, have you seen our bank account? Mm, not doing it. Don't believe you. But if you trick it a little bit with words like more and more, or it's getting easier, or I'm getting more abundant every day, there's little tricks and it'll go, well, because it takes everything literally. I could find a penny on the ground and that would be more abundant. So, okay, I'll let that in. So there's a little tips in there that I give to help them um, with creating their own recording and recording it on their phone. You don't need any money. You just record it. Everyone's phone has a recorder. And if you want to put some nice music behind it, you can. And then you just really listen to it every day. It's usually about a 30-minute recording. And the best time to do it is just going to sleep. And if you fall asleep, that's fine because your subconscious is always listening, whether you're asleep or awake. And they recommend 21 days to make a new thought pattern, but I say just go for the 4 weeks. Might as well.
Love that. How do you use the self-hypnosis to further deepen your oneness concept if you have not had that experience yet?
Well, actually, that's a really good question. That was one of the first things that I did for myself once I sort of understood a little bit more about oneness, and after I had been certified, is I created my own self hypnosis about oneness, about the concepts I now knew to be true through experience versus what I believed, that I was separate, that I was so limited, all these things. And then I listened to that I definitely went 4 weeks instead of 3 weeks. And if I'm ever feeling like I'm getting stressed or feeling a little forgetful, I'll pull it back out. And there has been an evolution because as I'm growing and getting deeper into it, I shift and it helps me. I make a new one. It just helps me to stay centered, and it's something you can use throughout your whole life. I mean, you deal with one issue that you want to work on. There's a lot more in there, and you just can keep working on them. When you're, if we could stay in awareness at all times, we wouldn't need to worry about it because I could just say, I know this. But we default into our subconscious on autopilot so much of the time, most of our day. That's why I don't know if you've ever heard of highway hypnosis where you're driving on the road and then you pass your exit because you're all in your head. Yeah. But who is driving the flipping car? I mean, it's your subconscious. Mm-hmm. It's the one that's reminding you, take a breath now, heart pump. It's always in motion. So if we could stay in that state of awareness all the time, we wouldn't need to rewrite it. But I think it's super helpful. It's kind of like a bit of a jump start. Pull out the weeds of separation and help yourself reprogram to the real truth.
Yeah, we could all use a little of that, especially these days, because, we start thinking we're getting better and not so separated and falling into these realms of acceptance here and there, but then it just crops up over and over again. What are some things that people can do to work through their beliefs? And also, like, are there common, like, repetitive beliefs that show up over and over again that are blocking people from reaching that state of oneness?
Well, I think mainly it's just our belief in separation. That is the main thing to work on. But what I recommend and what I did for myself is I wrote down all the things that are happening in my life in a good and bad. Again, I'm labeling, but because they're all perfectly there for a reason. And then I looked at the things that I'm not happy with, and I was able to look like, what is the belief behind that? And then how is this showing up in my life? What are some examples? And then I work through, like in the book, how does this make me feel? I find the negative emotions that button that gets pressed is causing to rise up in me, and I dig below that. And when this is happening in my life, I'm feeling X, it makes me feel like I am Y, and then that's the belief. And so then once you can pull out those negative emotions and beliefs, you can flip them around to what you'd rather believe and feel, and then that's what you would put into the self hypnosis. Now, there is definitely, I would recommend, if you have the availability of a great hypnotherapist nearby, to do some deeper work, because if you can do a regression or parts therapy or there's so many different ways to dig in there and do some deeper work, but you can just keep at it yourself and work on these things, and help to shift the program, because in your conscious mind, you want to stay aware, you want to remember who you are, but then these things keep cropping up. So why not just weed them out?
Mhm.
It makes your life a little easier.
What are, so, gosh, where do I want to go? I think I want to go to self-love next because you really dive into that. And I think that's really important as well. So, the role of self-love, and then also like kind of segueing from, that hypnotherapy or self-hypnosis, and, how we can also use that to help gain a stronger sense of self-love or go into a full-time sense of self-love. And then also defining that because it's way beyond, our self-care routines.
Yes. Well, I'm glad we're talking about self love, because it is so important. And I think I mentioned in the book that it does say in the Bible to love your neighbor as you love yourself. But if you don't love yourself, how are you supposed to love your neighbor? And then when you understand experientially that you are your neighbor, how can you not love them unconditionally? And when you can walk through that awareness of being that oneness and seeing that it is all you, how can you not love everything? How could you lie, cheat, or steal to any of them? Because it's you, and all you want is the best for them. So that's where, to me, self love is so much greater than just myself, because I immediately, in my mind, at this point, I see self love with a capital S, the self. Um, but for self love, I think I talk about in the book that exercise of looking at yourself deep in the mirror, in your eyes, and telling yourself, I love you. And a lot of people, when I did the course, they did not like doing that. They felt very uncomfortable. Some of them cried because it just did not resonate with them to love themselves. And through the work, through understanding who you are and doing that over and over, something changes. And before you know it, you're able to look in your own eyes, tell yourself you love yourself, and feel it so deeply. Um, I would even give them out a little heart-shaped mirror for their pocket, and it had a little heart sticker on it to remind them whenever they looked in the mirror to say that they love themselves. So, and as far as how self-hypnosis can help with that is, break it down. How do you feel about yourself? Break it down by your body, your accomplishments, your everything that you see as your self-concept. Write it all down. And what would you rather feel and believe about each one? And make yourself a self hypnosis and start listening to it. And it takes time. It does take time. And here's the thing is sometimes people will start and they'll listen for like 3 nights and then they just stop. So you have to be committed. And if you're not, it's okay. It just wasn't the time. But you can always come back to it. And sometimes we do fall off of something that we mean to do, but it is still perfect because we needed to experience X, Y, and Z in order to circle back and go, now I see it. Before I was just doing it to do it. Now I do it because it really means something to me and I will follow through. And those are the kinds of things where we think we fail, or we have a bad experience, like what happened to me when I wanted to end my life. But those things, to me, I feel like they are such a beautiful gift. I see them in my mind's eye as a gold box with a red ribbon, and they're just waiting there so patiently. It is the infinite just waiting so patiently for me to see the gift in it, that it's there to remind me just simply, I've forgotten who I am. And because of those things, even that bad experience for myself, I've been able to help so many people who listen to me in a whole different way because they can relate to me.
Mhm.
If I'm helping someone who went through that bad depression and all of that, and I had never experienced it, they would be like, yeah, but you don't know.
Yeah.
You can't feel what I feel. But so, yeah, it wasn't a fun experience, but I was able to help people so much that I'm grateful for that experience because I could share it and people will listen in a new way. And it wouldn't have happened if I wasn't given that gift. So if we look at everything in a new light, it is just that gift of waiting to remind us we've just forgotten who we are. And it's a beautiful thing. It's like a mother's patience, waiting there time and time again. We wonder why this same bad experience keeps coming with maybe different people that treat us the same way. Why do they always discount me? Or why am I not respected? Or why do I get in relationships with people who cheat on me? Or whatever it might be. Um, you know, it's like that little gift keeps coming back, like, but wait, see me. I'm here to help you remember. And then you can look at it and say, what is it about me that makes me believe I don't deserve love or I'm not worthy of this? And then we can actually look into it and pull that weed. Otherwise, we're just oblivious to it and it keeps growing back up in all different places. But it does it because of kindness. It's coming back to just say, I love you. I'm still here. I want you to win. I want you to find your way past this. It's just a different perspective on the bad things in life. The bad things.
I like that
I
you
like to think of them as
bringing it up over and over
good.
and over again because I think that this is too, I've seen it in my life. Like, I have gratitude for all of the things that have happened in my life because I wouldn't be who I am or where I'm at right now if all of those things didn't happen. Right. And all the little things like dragging my feet for working on this new book I'm working on or whatever it might be. And then I see as I'm working on the book that these little parts that belong in the book are showing up when I finally are like, okay, now is the time for me to sit down and start doing this thing. Right. And then what you were just talking to, we have these things come up and why do these things keep coming up. And even when you've done a lot of work, it's like a spiral. These things, come back over and over again. And you can think that you're done and you've healed something and, oh, this thing doesn't trigger you anymore. And, I was talking yesterday with a friend, like I have something happens, I get triggered, I'm super angry, I walk myself through it respond instead of going into reaction, it's all here, it's all a story that we create, right? So how am I going to walk myself through this story? And then what is the root? Okay, walk myself through the emotion. What is the story? I know it's a story. Where does the story lead me? What is the root? Oh, it's that again. It's like, I don't matter. And then how does that show up in my life? And how has that been showing up from X, Y, and Z? That was,
Absolutely.
everybody did exactly, what they were to do, with the knowledge they knew at the time, and everything was perfect, so I could have what I needed to be doing what I'm doing today, and even that situation yesterday, that caused the trigger, that brought up the old wound, that had me go into it again and, like go through my process, you know, don't
Yep.
don't bury your emotions, express them. Walk yourself through like seeing the different perspective, what is the other person's perspective? What is my perspective? Like what's the, higher, thing? What would love do? Like going through all of it, right? And then like, what is my root? Like finally by the end of the day, like what is the root? Oh, there it is again. It's so real. But we can do it. We can talk, walk ourselves through this and it all stays here. It doesn't even have to involve anybody else. You
No, nobody has to know. And it's baby steps, and the more it's good to start on smaller issues and learn how to work your way through it
know?
until you're really ready. The one, in my opinion, the one and only root cause of everything is a belief in separation.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest one. I mean, we've been believing it since we came out of the womb, you know? Um, so if you can jump right to that, that's really great and heal that one. But sometimes I feel for most people, it takes a little getting there. We start with other issues and then we realize, why am I doing this? Why am I letting somebody treat me this way? Then we also realize, okay, it says in the Bible, we are created in God's image, right? Well, last time I checked, God ain't some dude walking around with arms and legs. So it's not like the physical image, but what is God then? Really, the infinite source creator. That's what it is. I don't really like the God label, but that's what it said in the Bible. So I used it. So if I am a creator, the divine creator, experiencing experience as Mary Jeannine, whatever I believe, I manifest, I create. So either way, I'm right. I could choose to believe I'm worthless and bingo, I can manifest it perfectly. Or I could switch gears, remember who I am, and believe I am divinely worthy, as is everyone else. Not saying that I am the divine and no one else is.
Mhm.
Everyone is.
Yeah.
So it's just really a perspective and being ready to step into that, um, kind of going all the way in on your belief. And it can be hard because I had this other experience and I actually backed out. Oh, oh, I thought I had my phone on silent. Sorry.
Okay.
Um, I felt like I had this crazy experience. I went to Oregon and I was visiting a friend. And while I was there, I started feeling real heavy. I didn't know what it was. And then at one point, I saw these unhoused people and they had a dog. And the dog was like limping and it was just very sad. And something like broke in me. And all of a sudden, all of the suffering of everything in the entire world was flowing through me at one time. And it was very overwhelming. Like even the pine needles were yelling. And I felt like I could step through and become one with all of it, and I would never be the same. But in that moment, after much crying and apologizing to my friend for ruining the trip, because that's all I could do was try to bear the weight of all suffering. And but my ego jumped in, and my ego said, "Oh, but if you walk fully through, there's no coming back. And what if your kids think you're weird?" So I backed out because I thought that somebody wouldn't like me or something. I chickened out. So that was fine though because I had more learning to do. But it's like that commitment to stepping off the cliff, and I wasn't ready at that moment. I was not.
And I want to highlight too, like all of these bells that are going off. When you were talking, it was 444, which is my favorite number, my favorite angel number. So
Oh,
that part right there was important.
whoop, whoop. I love the numbers
Yes. And the dings. And
and the
when you
ding.
cracked open like that, surrendering to that until our, ego tries to step in again,
Yeah.
right? And feel it. Feel the grief. And there's a lot going on in the world right now. And a lot of people are going to be cracked open right now for one thing or another and be able to feel this. Because even if the energetic souls that are listening right now don't know, they're tapped into the outer world and the collective, even if they're not watching TV, even if they're not on social media, you are feeling it. So if you have those moments at night, I know I have them where all of the sudden you're feeling sad, sorrow, grief, and your heart gets cracked open or your heart opens, for one reason or another. Like be in it, and yes, that darn ego like tries to like step in and disrupt the program sometimes.
It does, but even that is perfect because we have to learn from it. Because when we walk that walk, then down the road, when we've been able to move past that, somebody will come along that will listen differently, just like my clients did because I stood in their shoes.
Yeah.
So then it's that beautiful gift. And I have to remind myself, this was another thing that happened to me in bed. I was upset about someone, I think I wrote about this in my book, who was being just really mean to people, and it was bothering me and I was judging them. And I was laying there thinking about it, and it just dawned on me about it being this gift, and that everything is just trying to tell me, you forgot who you are, you're back in separation. And it was in that moment I remembered, if I'm birthing everything into my experience, which also affects the collective consciousness, it is my responsibility. It's like my children, and I have two children. I love them so much, but I could never pick a favorite. And if one of them did something bad, I wouldn't not love them. So I have to look at what I've manifested into my experience. And just because it's that bad child that's acting up doesn't mean I stop loving it. It's still my manifestation. And that's where I can look at my beliefs. What in me caused me to manifest this? And how can I shift my perspective and love it and accept it as it is? And this is something that I think is not very popular if I say this, but I just feel led to say it. So sorry if I offend anybody, but there's a lot of things going on in the world right now that are not good. And I acknowledge that good on if we want to label it that. Um, but we have to also remember we've all contributed to its manifestation. So, for example, I remember there was something that happened in DC where the crime was really bad, and a group of enlightened people or people on the path decided to meditate on peace for 30 days. And they did it. They brought the crime rate down just by focusing and putting their creative, infinite source, divine, creative focus on peace instead of crime. But we do it all the time. Everything's getting so expensive. Boom, I, as the divine, just added to that. Boom, this person's ruining our country. I'm adding to it. If we switched collectively what we believe about these people who we believe are hurting us, who are hurting, but maybe we've called it, I'm not saying maybe, we have called it into existence.
Yeah.
So if we switch to love, it would change. I know it would. And I know people will say that's naive, or you don't know what you're talking about, or they're just so heated and tied to their belief of one side or another. But even that is just something we created. So why don't we as a collective turn it around, love somebody and know they've forgotten who they are. But if we all send our love, and saw a different outcome. I mean, it says in the Bible, believe and as if it's already so, and you shall receive. It's the as if it's already so that people forget. So, as the divine, I believe something's already so, and then it manifests. But the thing is we say, I want this, but we believe the opposite, really. And then we wonder why it doesn't manifest. So, how can we come together and believe in love and peace and harmony and the highest good for all? Because it's not anything other than our own self. If we just knew, that's why I don't care about making money on a book or anything I do. I just want people to know they are loved, know who they are. If I could just hug everybody, I would. I just, I think that's what I'm called to do. I never even know what I'm doing day to day to like get the word out. I just try and follow inspiration as best I can. And that's how you came into my life. And hopefully, at least one set of ears will hear this and it will register and mean something. And that will make my life so meaningful.
Yes. And I can hear in you that you have so much gratitude for being able to be someone who helps others in this life. I,
I feel so blessed because, you know, I see everyone and everyone's crossing the river at their own time. And it's not that mine is any better because I'm in a different spot. I just love them so much. And I know I was back on that stone not too long ago. And I know that I can try and tell them, but until their eyes are ready to see and their ears are ready to hear, it's not their time. So I have to have patience and I have to love them unconditionally where they're at on their journey and hold space for them because it's me. And at my perfect time, I will arrive, not a second before. I'm pretty lucky that I could see it because I didn't always see it. And so I am grateful, very grateful.
yes. And I like that you said that. We all have our own time. We all have our own time to see it, feel it, experience it, have it, and we're all on our own path. Like we're so unique and individual, even though we are all one, there is that fractal, like you're channeling through this information in your way. Another person is channeling through their information in their way. You were on your learning path, learning what you needed to learn to get to this point where you are today. Our listeners are all on their own paths, uniquely their own, getting them to the spot where they were drawn to listen to our conversation here today, to glean your experience to help them on their path and how
It's so beautiful, isn't it?
divine timing and how it lines up. Whoever is to listen to this will listen to it. They're meant to listen to it and to hear your message. Yeah, I totally believe that. And we are each other, like we are each other. And seeing that in the world, it's like, okay, I can be upset with you, but you are me. Like you are a reflection of me. You are a mirror for me, for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you
And
are
when
good. You are
I'm upset with people, it's something in me.
yeah, 100%. I love
Yeah.
this.
What is it in me?
Mhm. For someone at home that's thinking, okay, this is a new concept for me. How do I grasp this? What would you say to them?
Well, meditation is a great tool if people do meditate and they can just, one of the ones that really worked for me was to just use kind of a mantra as I'm meditating, um, just to sort of help quiet more. I am love, or to just keep asking myself, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Another thing I would highly recommend, I don't know if you know who Muji is.
Yeah. I was just listening.
Mooji.
I was listening to him on the ferry after dropping my son off at the airport. We're so
I
connected.
love him, but I think that I know I just love you to bits. when I saw your picture, I was like, yeah, I know you. But his invitation to freedom it's on YouTube. It's totally free. I mean, you can buy the cool book, which I had. I gave it to somebody, but it was really cool. Um, that is a great first step because he has a very soothing voice and he helps you to drop everything that's not you. Drop your body. Just leave it outside the door. Your beliefs, your thoughts, everything. And experience. It's a great way to experience yourself as capital S, the oneness. I highly recommend him, but I do prefer personally not the live version because there are, especially if you're kind of newer to meditation, there's some background noise and it might kind of take your focus or something. But he does have like a professionally recorded one, and that's one I recommend for people just starting out. Um, and even just say out loud whatever I'm supposed to see and learn from will show up. I'm so excited and can't wait to see it. Or say something like, isn't it wonderful that the right thing shows up to teach me? I used to do that for a while. It's like, isn't it wonderful that something great's happening? And then lo and behold, something would come. So try any of those. You got to feel what resonates for you. Everyone's a little bit different.
Those are great. Are there any other tips and tools that you can bring our audience as far as like, what they can do for like self-hypnosis or, trying to feel what oneness would feel like? Do you have any advice for them?
Well, I can't really advise them on what it feels like because like we had said, everybody will experience it differently. And listening to Muji or any type of meditation where you can clear your thoughts and focus on who you are. But I can't think of anything for a first time person, you mean? Or
Yeah, for someone who's like, gosh, I'm not yet on this path and I was brought to this conversation. So, I really feel like this is the universe telling me that this is something that I should be doing or diving into, and I go and listen to Muji or I go and do another exercise. Like, what is something else that I could do besides meditation, or maybe even from your book, or after our listeners buy the book, some of the things that come along with it, because you do have some added extras. When I got the PDF, there were a song, a meditation. So, what are a few of those things that are resources that you provide?
I have quite a few resources. I had to grab the book because I had mentioned before, and I haven't gone back and reread my book because we had talked about, and maybe everybody doesn't know, but I've had quite a few concussions, so I have some issues with memory sometimes. I didn't go back to reread it because every time I do, and you might find this while you're writing your book, I just keep wanting to change everything that I wrote. So I had to just let it be. And
I do the same
this is what it was
thing.
meant.
I was
So I can't read,
I was reading
but
to somebody
I
a
do.
couple
I
weeks.
have a micro course on my website, which is my stand store. Um, I have a lot of songs. And if music gets you, music gets me. And then I realized that so much of the music I was listening to was telling me lies. Love is hard, oh, or whatever, it was just stuff that was separation, separation, separation. So I started writing my own songs and I used to just sing them into my voice recorder, which like it was fine for me. I know I don't have a great voice, but it was at least something to listen to. And then recently I found I tried to pay like some artists to do my music and it just didn't really come out very well. And it was very expensive. So I found this app and my kids told me that it's controversial, but it's an AI app that takes your lyrics and makes them into songs. So I did that. And so now I can at least listen to my songs. I downloaded them. But I have them in all different genres from, country to indie to dance. I like the dance because I exercise to it. There's a hip hop version. There's even punk rock. I did that for my kid. One of them curses. I'm sorry. I just had to. I felt like it needed a curse word.
That's awesome.
It's punk, right?
Uh-huh.
And there's a more meditative version that's more gentle music for if you're doing yoga or something. But my songs are there. If anyone wants them, I can send them. I'm in the middle of trying to figure out how to put them onto Spotify. I just want to share them with people. If anyone wants some songs, just like email me. I don't know if you could put it out there. My email, I'll send you songs. I could send you the whole playlist if you tell me what kind of music you like. I have a micro course on my site. There is a 5 minute meditation. It's like an inner peace reset. It's totally free. I have quite a few things. I also have, what the heck did I call it? I have this phone background. Oh, I turned off my phone. That's why I can't show you. So it's a whole set of background pictures because I found that like when I was dealing with that person who was upsetting me because they were being mean. I didn't have time to go find a meditation or do this or that. But if you just on my iPhone, if I just hold it, it will let me change my background. And so I have a whole bunch of them and they're color coded. When I'm feeling low, I use the blue ones and it's just little affirmations that help bring me back. The one I have now, it says, judgment. Thank you for reminding me. I've forgotten who I am. So I
Right.
can just quickly touch it and move over, but I have all of those on my site too, and you can just download them and you have them. Um, it's just faster to me as a reminder. And then during the day, I know I'm going to be by that person. I have that as my background on my phone. I look over, oh yes, come on back.
I love that.
Remember who
I have
you are.
people that I shuffle.
Um,
Those are
yeah, it's easy to do and it's fast. Otherwise, I then start to forget. I call it cat naps. I
mhm.
used to be asleep for a long time and then I'd wake up, sleep. Now it's more little cat naps. And that's okay. I'm learning from those. I'm crossing the river.
And then when we
So
get a trigger, that's actually a treasure. That can be a forgetting for whether it's 5 minutes or an hour, right? Then it's like, oh yeah, let me get back to the program again.
yeah.
Thanks for showing me that, I still have work to do. Thank you. Yeah. And then,
Yeah. And we're always on the journey.
yeah.
That's part of this human experience. And if I ever can stay in that state of awareness all the time, I might just like spontaneously combust, and that would be okay too. I tell my kids if I'm ever not around and randomly disappear, just know I evaporated and it's all good. And they just laugh. They know I'm kind of weird.
That's great. I love that. Oh, awesome. Jeannine, this has been such a pleasure to host you. What a fun conversation. I really enjoyed you and so glad that we got introduced. It's been a pleasure to host you. I ask one final question. What is a jewel of wisdom that you would like to leave our audience with today?
I would say the jewel of wisdom. Do the deep dive. It's worth it. Ask yourself if there's one thing that you could do is really get quiet and ask yourself, who am I? And really look at your answer to see if it holds water. Because if it's anything that you could put my in front of, keep looking, keep digging.
Oh, I love that. I did an exercise years ago. This is great jewel of wisdom. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And I remember doing this on two different occasions, and I really didn't know what was going on the first time I did it or what like the concept was about it. So it was very much like my based in my identity, my I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. And then, after some learning, came back to the exercise again. So do the exercise. And I recommend also like do it several times, like allow yourself to go through, all of your identity or all that you think that you are. And then allow yourself to go deeper into those deeper layers of no, wait a minute. And even
Yeah.
just starting off with like, I am light or I am all, I am oneness.
Yes.
And just feeling that in your body, when you say, I am oneness.
How does that feel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is
And
that
to
need?
keep doing it until you can feel it.
Yeah.
And like anything, if you try meditation for the first time, it's not just a one and done. You keep doing it and refining it. If you just did it one time and it didn't work, you'd be like, oh, that sucks. And you just like go, you're like, it didn't work. It doesn't work. But
You
you keep at it. You keep at it.
Oh my gosh. And that is one thing that has showed up over and over and over again. The universe is like, meditate, 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 meditate for a while. Then I drift out of it as we do. And then it's meditate, meditate, meditate. And you find another way to meditate. And it's funny how it's like progressed over the years and how many times the universe has had to tell me, meditate. It even happened at the beginning of this year, a gift of being able to step back into Kriya yoga and meditation, which has been a real gift. Yes, but
And
meditate.
trust your journey too, because
Yeah,
we
trust.
have these times where we're in it and then we step out. And then we look back and, oh, why did I step out?
Yeah.
Because we were supposed to. There
Hmm.
was something to experience and learn. So just trust your journey.
Yeah, because yeah, I even said to my teacher, I'm like, I didn't do the initiation, I was doing it over lockdown over the computer because it wasn't the right time yet until now,
Until
and I've
now.
gone through the initiation and it was beautiful. And I know in my heart of hearts, like it didn't happen then because it wasn't supposed to. It was supposed to happen now because that's how life works out.
And it's only ever now.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that's all that really matters, right? It's only ever now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeannine. I'll have all of your links down in the show notes. So everybody go down in the show notes after you're done listening and check those out and get her book, The One You've Always Been. And it's a fantastic read and really goes into a lot of things that I feel are really important and have discussed on the show, not only with you, Jeannine, but with other people too, but in a different way, and you show up in a different way and with more concepts, in here that I think a lot of people will appreciate. So thank you for doing this and, I'm bringing this to the world. I think it's important right now.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to chat with you. And I'm just so happy we got to meet because I follow you on social and I love what you post. And
Same.
you just have such a warm glow about you. I can feel your energy through the phone. So I'm happy to meet you and be with you.
Me too. Same here. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
And thank you, Jeannine. And thank
Thank
you,
you. All
everyone,
right.
for joining us. Again, I'm Liz Peterson, and this is Raise the Vibe with Liz. And you can find me everywhere on social media at Raise the Vibe with Liz and my website, raisethevibewithliz.com. Thanks, everybody. And remember to get out there and raise the vibe. Bye, everybody.